Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo God's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flow like I ain't looked at a while. Like I'm praying for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, when you can go follow
God bless you, working on the plan to heaven. Follow the Lord all 24/7 days. God is who we praise, even though the devil's all up in my face, but it keeping me safe.
Backbone Wrestling Network, welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results of the happenings from Collision on April 5th to SmackDown on April 11th, as well as AEW's Dynasty that happened last Sunday night. We'll start with Collision. We open with Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita defeating Tomohiro Ishii and Powerhouse Hobbs when Fletcher hit the brainbuster on the top rope on Ishii. And actually, I think it was just a regular brainbuster. I don't think he quite got Ishii up on the top rope and delivered that. But either way, Fletcher and Takeshita win the match. We then get Crew. They are ready for Top Flight, but go up to Nick Wayne to, again, asking for help. They need help kind of warding off AR Fox, as AR Fox seems to be Top Flight's new buddy. But they say that Nick Wayne might be too valuable to help, or he may be too valuable to help them. Crew then mocks him for needing Christian Cage's permission, so Nick Wayne says he will help with AR Fox, but for himself, not them. We then get Max Caster. He throws out another open challenge. This time it's answered by Mark Briscoe, and then he beats him in about a minute and a half with the Jade Driller. We then get video on Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight that will happen in the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament at Dynasty. Jay White seems pretty annoyed about being out of the tournament, but reminds Knight that he's only getting the spot because of his injury. As for Ospreay, he's getting to avoid Jay White for another day. White isn't happy with the Death Riders for his broken hand, and he'll be planning his revenge as he recovers. We then get Top Flight. They defeat Crew when Dante sneaks in and cradles Andretti for the win. After the match, they continue to brawl. AR Fox makes the save, and then Nick Wayne runs in to take him out, and a 6-man is announced for the 0 hour on the pay-per-view tomorrow night. We then get Jamie Hayter. She says she is impressed with Billy Starks, but warns her to be wary of Athena, who is her trainer. Starks then says she'll prove herself in the tournament when they face each other in the first round. We then get a face-to-face sit-down between Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia. Cole talks about how they first faced each other about 2 years later, or 2 years earlier, and Garcia hasn't changed much. Back in the day, he was confused, and that's what Garcia still is today. All Cole needed was a few more seconds to win the title, and that's what he'll do Sunday, which is his wrestling anniversary. Garcia then talks about the chance that Cole has had over his career, all the chances that he's had over his career, but this is his last chance against Garcia. Cole asks everyone else to leave and tells Garcia that he respects him, but Garcia isn't ready for what Cole has in store. The reality is Cole has been the guy longer than Garcia has been wrestling, and he'll prove that to him on Sunday. We then get Pac. He defeats Cash Wheeler via pinfall with a cradle after kind of a melee broke out between their partners, obviously the Death Riders, and then Cope and Dax Harwood had kind of been on the outside, so Pac kind of sneaks a win in there. We then get video of the international title 3-way that we will have on Dynasty between Omega, Speedball, and Ricochet. We then get Shane Taylor Promotions. They're in the back. They're sick of people talking about battlefields and warfare around here. And then they kind of seemingly throw out a challenge to the Ops, who they've kind of had some run-ins with lately. And the Ops seems to come out on top most of the time. So I don't really know what they have to provide for reasoning to go against each other again. We then get Mike Bailey. He defeats Drilistico via pinfall following a tornado kick. After the match, Ricochet kicks Bailey low and then hits the Spirit Gun to leave him lying. We then get Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander. They are both excited to face each other in the women's Owen Hart tournament. They're friends, but this is a serious fight, and Statlander grabs her by the throat and says she'll be seeing her tomorrow. We then get Harley Cameron and Mercedes Moné. They argue over which one of them has this in their tag team match tonight. Obviously, kind of a preview of the Owen. They're going to be facing their opponents in the first round in a tag match for the main event of Collision. We then get video of Toni Storm versus Megan Bayne that will happen at Dynasty as well. And then we close with that tag team match where Julia Hart and Athena defeat Mercedes Moné and Harley Cameron when Hart gets Cameron to tap out to the octopus stretch. A pretty solid episode of Collision heading into the pay-per-view. That sit-down was pretty good between Cole and Garcia. But as far as matches of the night, I would go with Fletcher and Takeshita versus Ishii and Hobbs. Again, I say this every week, but Fletcher usually really brings it every time he's out there. I think he knows he's a young kind of up-and-comer, and he wants to prove himself every time he gets the chance. So I think he's done pretty good at that. So that would be my match of the night. We'll move from there to Dynasty. We open with Will Ospreay defeating Kevin Knight via pinfall. Following the Hidden Blade, this advances Ospreay to the semifinals of the Owen. We then get the Hurt Syndicate. They defeat the Learning Tree of Big Bill and Brian Keith when Lashley hits the spear on Brian Keith and Shelton kind of nonchalantly pins him with like a fist on his chest. So it was a pretty back and forth match, but at the end it was pretty. They didn't treat them like they were on their level. We then get Mercedes Moné. She defeats Julia Hart via pinfall when she reversed a roll up into one of her own and got the 3. This advances Mercedes in the women's Owen as well. We then get the Death Riders. They defeat Rated FTR when Yuta hits the Psycho knee on Harwood. After the match, the champs leave and Rated FTR pose together. Then Harwood, out of nowhere, pile drives Cope and grabs some chairs, and he tries to get Cash to do a concerto, but he won't do it. He instead shoves Harwood down and then seemingly turns right back to being Harwood's friend, and they hit the Shatter Machine on Cope, and then they hit the spiked pile driver on a chair, and then now Cash Wheeler is willing to do a concerto. With Cope's head absolutely being crushed over and over by both of them. And then Cash even puts a neck brace on himself to kind of mock Cope and says he probably needs this worse than I do. And then they wheel Cope out on a stretcher. We then get our women's championship match where Toni Storm defeats Megan Bayne via pinfall when she reversed the Fate's Descent into a small package. We then get Kyle Fletcher. He defeats Mark Briscoe via pinfall with the top turnbuckle brainbuster. And this advances Fletcher to the semifinals of the Owen as well. We then get Bandito. He defeats Chris Jericho via pinfall following the 21 plex to become the new Ring of Honor World Champion. There was a false finish somewhere in there where Jericho won, where he used he's been known to carry around a bat over the last few years. He used the bat to kind of knock out Bandito, and then Bandito's family had been ringside. And they pointed out that Jericho had used the bat, and they apparently was good enough for the ref to restart the match. So, Bandito's your new Ring of Honor World Champion. Hopefully, please, God Almighty, let him just be on ROH, be a superstar, and lead that TV show promotion and be their champion and not appear on Dynamite. I mean, he can be on every now and then, but he needs to be on Ring of Honor television, and that's it. Hopefully, this is the champion that can finally do it. We'll then go to the TNT Championship match where Adam Cole defeats Daniel Garcia via pinfall following the boom, and this makes him the new TNT champion, and the two shake hands after the match, even though Danny kind of seemed like he was a little hesitant to do it before they actually did shake hands. So I don't think they're quite done with each other, so we'll see where they kind of go in the future. We then get our International Championship match where Kenny Omega retains, defeating Ricochet and Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey and Ricochet had been battling on the top rope, and Omega sneaks up behind and hits a one-winged angel from the middle rope on Ricochet, and that's good enough for the victory. And then after the match, Kazuchika Okada comes out to stare down, and they seemingly are teasing a Omega Okada match in the future. But Omega kind of leaves the ring without really anything happening. They don't get physical at all. Just kind of have a little bit of a stare down. And then in the main event, John Moxley defeats Swerve Strickland via pinfall after the Young Bucks make their return and hit the EVP trigger on Swerve, and then Mox takes advantage and gets the 3 count to retain the world title. So he survives another day. So I mean, I'm guessing whoever wins the Owen faces him at All In, and hopefully that's the end of the Death Rider saga. But that's still a couple of more months, so we still have to deal with Mox for a little bit longer. But I'd say the best match was that 3-way for the International Championship: Omega, Ricochet, and Bayley. I'll go through some pay-per-view match rankings, saying what my top 5 from the show would be, but that would definitely take the cake as the best. There were plenty of solid matches throughout, but that one definitely stood out above the rest. We'll then go to Raw. We get a recap of last week's women's title match between Rhea and Io, where we got the double DQ when Bianca was the referee. And she kind of ends things and ends up knocking everybody down and stuff like that. Adam Pearce comes out with the women's world title to get things going. Io Sky and scheduled challenger Bianca Belair are brought out, and then Rhea Ripley comes out. Pearce then takes the blame for last week and then announces that there will be now a triple threat for the title at WrestleMania. He even has a contract, but Belair says she would have been annoyed at this a few weeks ago. Then everything happened over the last few weeks, and she is happy that Ripley is being added. Belair has been through enough, so she's ready to go through Ripley to get the title back. Ripley mocks Belair, and Belair signs and then gets the contract shoved at her, with Ripley signing it as well. And then Io Sky, obviously being the champion, gets annoyed, hits a springboard drop kick to knock them both down, and then she signs the contract and leaves with the belt. We then get told that a 4-way Intercontinental title match has been set for WrestleMania with Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. Balor isn't thrilled with the idea of Mysterio being in the match, but Liv Morgan says it's ups the chance of the Judgment Day coming back with the title. Balor seems to agree and suggests that Mysterio doesn't have what it takes to win at WrestleMania. We then get a women's Intercontinental title match where Lyra Valkyria defeats Bayley via pinfall when she reversed the Rose Plant in an attempt into a roll-up. After the match, Bayley slaps away a handshake, goes to leave, but then comes back and gives her a hug. We then get Bert Kreischer in the back. He has a Netflix special coming up, but American Made comes in and says they're glad that Bert is here to see them. Like I said, Chad Gable kind of invites Bert to watch them in their match later on, but Bert's not so sure about it. The Alpha Academy then come in, and Bert and Otis seem to be pals, and they rip their shirts off together and kind of start making weird guttural noises. We then get AJ Styles. He is ready to embarrass Logan Paul at WrestleMania, but Karrion Kross and Scarlett come in and interrupt him. Kross asks about what happened to the other AJ Styles, which has Styles kind of annoyed that he said that. Styles isn't sure what's up with Kross and this other Styles, so he'll see him next week in a match. So Kross and AJ will kind of team up for AJ taking on Logan Paul, because Kross seems to not want to leave AJ alone and wants to see another side of AJ. We then get El Grande Americano and the Creed brothers. They defeat the LWO when Americano hits a diving headbutt with a loaded mask. So he had kind of shoved like a piece of metal in his mask, hits a diving headbutt on Dragon Lee, and that gets him the win. We then look back at Gunther mauling Jim Uso last week in a great beatdown to make the feud with Jay a little bit more personal, because it had kind of been lacking something before that. Gunther comes out, and the fans are booing him mercilessly. Before he can even say anything, though, Jay Uso comes out. Gunther then takes his jacket off, but Jay knocks the microphone out of Gunther's hand. Jay slowly takes his sunglasses off and throws them away and grabs a mic himself. He says Gunther has a mother and asks what they talk about. Do they talk about family stuff, like about their family and what they had for dinner and such? Jay has a mother too, and this week he had to tell her about her oldest son in a hospital bed. Jay's mom asked, "Why didn't you protect him, Joshua?" The reality is he is afraid of Gunther, who had the drop on him the whole time. Gunther attacked Jimmy, and while Jay was tied to the ropes, and now Jimmy's blood is on Jay's hands. That had Jay scared. And then in his darkest moment, a light bulb went off. He realized that he isn't afraid of Gunther anymore. Before WrestleMania, Gunther needs to hug and kiss his family. Jay is going to pray that the Lord forgives him for the man that he is about to become. He's getting revenge for himself and his family and the title. Jay throws the mic at Gunther, who looks pretty unnerved for the first time in this entire build, based on that promo. So, getting pretty personal. This is the fire that we needed from this rivalry, and kind of build so far that's been kind of lacking before last week. So, I don't know if somebody got in somebody's ear or something like that, but I feel like a lot of the builds had been kind of lacking before the last few weeks. And like these last 2 weeks that we've kind of talked about heading into the final week next week, has really, really picked up. So really good stuff there. We then get Natalya and Maxine Dupree backstage. They're ready for their chance to go to WrestleMania in the gauntlet match that'll happen on SmackDown. Rey Mysterio then goes into Adam Pearce, says he wants El Grande Americano at WrestleMania, and Pearce gives him the match. We then get the New Day defeating the War Raiders via disqualification when Woods introduces a chair into the ring, and Ivar is the one that ends up using it. After the match, Kofi hits a hard chair shot on Ivar, and New Day beats down Eric as well. The chair is then put in the corner, and Eric goes headfirst into it, followed by Ivar being sent into the timekeeper's area. A pilmanization of Eric's previously injured neck is loaded up, but agents come in and break it up. We then get Penta. He defeats Dominic Mysterio via pinfall following a Penta driver. After the match, Judgment Day comes in to beat down Penta, but Braun Breaker comes in and makes the save and wrecks everyone. He absolutely cuts Carlito in half with an amazing super spear in the aisleway that was one of the best I've ever seen. But obviously, Breaker knocks everybody down in the Judgment Day, except Finn Balor, who sneaks behind him and takes out Breaker. We then get Paul Heyman. He is out to the ring for a chat. I believe this is our main event as well. He says, first and foremost, he will always be loyal to his tribal chief. Second, he will always be loyal to his best friend, CM Punk. He will never be disloyal to either of them. So let's get one thing perfectly clear. And before he can say anything, Seth Rollins comes out. After doing his introduction, Rollins brings up Heyman talking about loyalty. But who is he loyal to? Rollins doesn't think it's either of them before talking about Reigns using Heyman as a glorified errand boy. Heyman seems to brush this off, but Rollins brings up Reigns leaving after last year's WrestleMania, leaving Heyman all alone with the rest of the bloodline, who obviously mistreated him. He didn't take Heyman with them. Obviously, like I said, leaving him in the hands of Solo Sikoa and company. Did Reigns come to Heyman's rescue then? Heyman admits that he didn't, with Rollins talking about how Reigns left Heyman to be attacked in front of his hometown and his family. Punk wasn't there either, just like he didn't take Heyman with him when he walked out 10 years ago. The two of them love to reminisce about war games, but who was the first choice for the team? Heyman has to admit that it was Rollins who says, "Stop me when I'm telling lies." Punk was the last choice, and he joined the team to get a favor from Heyman. The reality is that Heyman should step out of this and let all three of them just battle it out. Heyman won't do that, but Rollins says it's for Heyman's own good. Rollins would love to do it, would love to take him out right now, which has Heyman a bit nervous. He seems either nervous or really, really mad. It's hard to tell. Rollins then says it's one quick stomp because no one is here to save you. Punk usually says that it's about making money rather than making friends, so how much is Heyman worth? Rollins shoves him and asks how much Heyman is worth. Heyman finally snaps and says, "Don't put your hands on me," which earns him a shove into the corner. Punk finally comes out and the brawl is on, with fighting going to the outside. Rollins is sent into the steps but avoids what might have been a stomp from Punk. Instead, Rollins hits one of his own and tries one to Heyman, but misses on purpose. Rollins then says that Heyman owes him a favor, leaving Heyman looking confused to end the show. So, again, a really hot angle to end the show. and a really good move forward, and kind of another mind game to this triple threat played here by Rollins, because now seemingly Heyman owes him a favor. So we'll see what that kind of ends up being. But as far as matches, there were only really 4 matches on the show. So not much to pick from. All of them were solid, but I would go with that 6-man tag. I feel like the LWO really took advantage of their opportunity here. Wild and Cruz del Toro don't get a ton of just showcase kind of opportunities, I don't think. And I think they're a really good tag team that's kind of underrated and underused. Obviously I get it, but they're obviously smaller than a lot of teams, and I don't know that they're looked upon as like a great like a very high ranking tag team, but they're very, very talented. And the Creeds are awesome, and Gable as Americano is awesome. So a really good match, and Dragon Lee also awesome in there as well. So a really good, well put together 6-man there. We then get NXT. Stephanie Vaquer announces that she will announce her Stand and Deliver opponent after this next match. We then get Jordynne Grace versus Jada Parker. It ends in a no contest where Parker slaps Vaquer, and she ends up attacking both Grace and Parker after the match. Then after the match, the brawl continues, and Julia makes her return and helps Vaquer clear the ring, and then Julia lays Vaquer out with a Northern Lights driver. And then holds up her previous NXT championship over the new champion Vaquer. We then get Swipe Right. They're in the back. They interrupt Hank and Tank and offer them some advice after their match tonight. Hank says, "We're not that desperate, are we?" And then Tank, of course, says, "No, Hank, we're not." The Culling then wants the North American title back, but Spears says he is happy with what he did, taking it from Tony D'Angelo, and it's time for the rest of the team to succeed, as Izzy Dame has a ladder match qualifier, and the boys, Nico and Brooks, will be in the gauntlet, number 1 contender for the tag team titles next week. We then get Fraxium. They defeat Swipe Right when they hit the Super Spanish Fly, followed by the Phoenix Splash on Ricky Smokes. Fatal Influence then bickers over who will get into the women's North American title ladder match. Sol Ruca then defeats Jasmine Nix via pinfall following the Soul Snatcher. Javon Evans is coming for the NXT title, but tonight he is taking out the Dark State. Julia then says she wants a rematch with Stephanie Vaquer at Stand and Deliver. We then get the Culling. They defeat Hank and Tank when they hit the top rope knee dominator combo on Hank. We then get Ricky Saints. He's cutting a promo. Saints appreciates the reception and says the Revolution will be televised again. He's happy with his win, but he is not pleased with Ethan Page. Saints gets that Page isn't okay with someone showing him up, so he tells him to get out here right now. Instead, he gets Lexus King, who says he loves gold, and then Eddie Thorpe comes out and interrupts as well. Thorpe wants a title, and it should be one that represents the land that it was stolen from his people, obviously North America. Wes Lee then comes out, who says he was the best champion the title has ever seen. So the conversation starts with him. Saints then is ready for any of them, but here is Ethan Page to drop him once again. And then the 4 challengers get into a brawl, and Lee hits a big flip dive to take them all out. As I believe he has a match coming up next. So he kind of stays out by ringside. And he has the match after we have a couple of backstage segments. So obviously this will somewhat lead to a match that will get announced later tonight. We then go to Ava's office. She's with Robert Stone and Stevie Turner. Stephanie Vaquer comes in and says she wants to face everyone from earlier at Stand and Deliver. So she wants a fatal 4-way with Julia, Jordynne Grace, and Jada Parker. And obviously Ava is good with that. Trick Williams then says he is ready to get his NXT title back, and he is not sweating the Dark State later tonight. We then get Wesley. He defeats Yoshiki Inamura via pinfall following the cardiac kick. Obafemi is then ready to wreck the Dark State and then keep his title at Stand and Deliver. We then get Izzy Dame defeating Ren Sinclair via pinfall following a Sky High. This qualifies her for the North American Women's Ladder match. We then have a bunch of women in Ava's office. She announces a last chance qualifying match for the Women's North American title ladder match next week. We then get Uriah Connors and Cale Dixon finally getting Andre Chase to agree to help them. Hank and Tank then come in, and run into the Street Profits, who tell them to be themselves and stop trying to be other people. The Profits want them in next week's Gauntlet for a tag team title shot at Stand and Deliver, and they want them to win. We then get our main event where the Dark State actually defeats Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and Obafemi when they hit a triple team slingshot powerbomb is the best way I could describe it. Two guys are kind of swinging Javon Evans, and then one of the guys jumps off the top rope and kind of hits somewhat of a power bomb. He kind of just lands on him, but I think that was kind of what they were going for. But they hit it on Evans and get the win. And while that was going on, Oba and Trick had been brawling in the aisle, so that's why Evans was kind of left by himself. And then after the match, Stax of the D'Angelo family pops up on the screen and issues a challenge for a fight with the Dark State in the parking lot next week. So a parking lot brawl between the D'Angelo family and the Dark State. So we'll see how that goes. That match, that main event was the best match of the show. One of the best matches of the week. I was really impressed with how the Dark State came off. Obviously, the other three guys are all the main eventers in NXT right now. Obviously, Trick and Oba have been. Oba's the champion, and Trick has previously been champion twice. And Evans is obviously somebody they look to be a future star for them. So, just a really, really impressive performance by all of them. We will then move on from there to Dynamite. We actually open with Jon Moxley cutting a promo with the Death Riders. He talks about how the roster might be talented, but no one could get it together to take him out. The Young Bucks have returned, and Moxley sees it as a power play. He doesn't recognize the Bucks anymore, and he hasn't for a long time. They better think before they make their next move. We then get Jon Moxley in a match to open the show. He beats Katsuyori Shibata via submission with a rear naked choke. After the match, the Young Bucks come out with Moxley saying something we can't hear because of the miking issues, and leaves with Marina Shafir. The Bucks talk about costing Swerve the world title, which was a favor to Hangman Page, who is still their friend, whether he wants to be or not. As for helping the Death Riders, consider it a peace offering. The Bucks and the Death Riders have a lot in common, as they both want the locker room to rise up and make AEW better so they can change the world. They couldn't even get the world title. So what about the Death Riders and the Elite working together? Kenny Omega then comes out to interrupt, saying the Bucks didn't seem to remember that he is part of the Elite. The last time he saw them, they were shoving Omega off a stretcher during the height of his diverticulitis. When Omega was in high school, he had a friend with two dogs who were kind of annoying. The dogs kept relieving themselves, and it became a bit hard to take due to the smell and all that kind of stuff. Very weird tangent here by Omega. Omega then suggests that they move it to his house instead. So obviously he was inviting a friend to his house so he didn't have to deal with the smells and the annoying dogs. He says that is how AEW was without Omega around to clean up after the Bucks. The last time we saw the Bucks, they were shredding documents, which was to cover up various expenses they had billed to AEW. Omega didn't like that the Bucks were trying to kill the company he gave his life to, so he wants to just fight. This brings out Okada, but Swerve comes in through the crowd with a chair. Omega seems kind of surprised, and he chases off the Elite with the chair. So Okada and the Bucks kind of just run away. Omega shows some respect and thanks to Swerve before leaving in peace. Strickland says it is time to go buck hunting, and he is ready to blast them. The Bucks just couldn't leave well enough alone, and here is Pac to jump him from behind to lead to their match that is next, where Swerve Strickland defeats Pac via pinfall following the Swerve stomp. We then go to the back. Ricochet, the crew, and the Beast Mortos are ready for an 8-man tag for $400,000, so $100,000 a piece. And the other three guys aren't too excited about the idea that Ricochet thinks he is the team captain. And then the other team in that 8-man, Mark Briscoe, Will Ospreay, Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight talk about what they might use their winnings for. Bailey wants some shoes. Obviously, he fights without boots in his matches. Knight wants to go to Atlantic City. Ospreay wants to go to Disney World, and Briscoe wants to diversify his portfolio, is what he says. So, but just really good stuff there by Mark Briscoe, and he does one of his crazy tangents there at the end. So, always good stuff from him. We then get Renee Paquette. She talks to Hangman, who doesn't know what to say because he's facing a wild card in the Owen Hart Cup. He storms into Swerve Strickland's locker room, but only finds Prince Nana. Paige was not trying to help Swerve at Dynasty, and if Swerve gets involved in his tournament matches, he'll pick up right where he left off. Nana goes to say something to Paige and try to apologize, but Paige doesn't want any of it and storms out. We then get that 8-man tag for the $400,000 where Briscoe, Ospreay, Bailey, and Kevin Knight defeat Ricochet, Crew, and the Beast Mortos when Ospreay hits the hidden blade on Mortos for the win, which is a really awesome 8-man. Definitely go out of your way to check that one out. We look back at FTR turning on Cope, laying him out at Dynasty. Cope is out indefinitely, and Tony Schiavone goes off on FTR, calling it the worst thing that he has ever seen in wrestling. Dax Harwood's daughter is probably even disappointed in her father for what happened. We then get the Hurt Syndicate. They are out to celebrate their title defense, albeit with an unexpected assist from MJF, of course. They bust out the champagne for a toast, but here is MJF to interrupt. MJF stands next to the team and is happy to be with them. Because it means he can skip the line and get his world title back sooner rather than later. He helped them retain the tag team titles, and now they can help him win the world title. So what is the initiation process? Bobby then tells MJF to shut up because they didn't need MJF's help. The Syndicate does not need him, and Lashley gets into an argument with MJF. MVP and Shelton then break it up, and MVP says it's time to vote, with MJF needing 3 thumbs up to get in. MVP is a yes, and then Benjamin is in the middle, but it ultimately says no, and that's enough for the Syndicate to leave, and MVP just kind of shrugs at MJF. We then get Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. They are ready to move forward, with Bayne being in a match on Collision. We then get Chris Statlander. She defeats Thunder Rosa via pinfall following the Saturday Night Fever. That advances her in the Owen Hart Women's Tournament. We then get Don Callis. He is ready for Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita to win the Owen Hart Cup. The team has injuries, though, and now it's time to recruit some possible new members. We then get Adam Cole. He is happy to have gotten his moment, but Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong want their moment and to become tag team champions. And then Cole says they are back and seems to dub the team of O'Reilly and Roderick Strong now as the Paragon. So, solid name. I don't hate it or love it, I guess, but solid enough name. We then get Chris Jericho out for TV time. He is pretty pissed. He's obviously not the world champion anymore. He had lost a tooth and obviously his title at the pay-per-view. He gives credit where credit is due to Bandito, who won the match, albeit with help from his brother and his stooge of a mother. Bandito has his family, but so does Chris Jericho. He brings out Big Bill and Brian Keith. Jericho gets on to them for losing at Dynasty to the Hurt Syndicate, but Big Bill cuts him off. He said he joined the learning tree because Jericho is one of the best ever, but he is not here to be a punching bag when things go wrong. All Jericho is going to do is berate them, then let him know now, and it's over, and he'll leave. Jericho says that's not why he brought them out here, but rather so he can yell at them for not helping him win or retain his championship. But that's not what Jericho believes at all. He says it wasn't the Big Bill's fault that he didn't come out. He isn't angry. He is just disappointed. Then he continues to beat the TV monitor that he has out with his baseball bat, shouting over and over that he's disappointed in Bill, obviously. And then Jericho wants Bill to fix things and leaves. We then look at Anthony Bowens. He had returned on the 0 hour and defeated Max Caster in another open challenge. We then go to the Hurt Syndicate in the back, and Lashley says they don't need or trust MJF. Benjamin thinks MJF is kind of funny, and Lashley walks off with Benjamin going to talk to him. MJF comes in to yell at MVP for how badly the rest of the Syndicate had been treating him. He says, "I'm MJF," and MVP then says, "That's the problem." He suggests that MVP find out what the rest of the team wants from him and give it to them if he wants their respect. We then get Chris Jericho. He is leaving the arena, but continues to bash things with his bat as he kind of walks out. And then we get our main event of Dynamite, where the ops of Hook and Samoa Joe defeat the Death Riders of Claudio and Yuta, when Hook gets Yuta to submit to the Red Rum. After the match, Marina Shafir comes in with a chair to take down the ops. And then Claudio gives Hook a neutralizer onto an open chair. So Samoa Joe comes in to chase them off. Joe says the ops are coming for the trios title, and that ends the show. So I'm guessing at Double or Nothing, we will get the ops versus the Death Riders for the trios championships. But like I said, that 8-man earlier in the show was probably one of the best matches of the week. So I would definitely give that best match of the show on Dynamite. We'll move on from there to Impact. We get Ethan Page to start things. He is surprised to be back, but doesn't really care about the hillbillies here in the crowd. At Rebellion, it is time for him finally to become world champion again. He's already beaten Joe Hendry, and he'll do it again. Frankie Kazarian comes out to interrupt, but the fans tell them that they both suck. Instead of cheering that at one of them, they end up cheering it at both of them. Kazarian then finds him arrogant and self-centered, and that's something he can't stand. The reality is that Kazarian earned this shot, while Page just sucked up to Santino. Santino then comes out to say that that Hendry will be out here to address his status for Rebellion later tonight, based on last week's injury that he sustained. We then move on from there, and Steve Maclin is ready to deal with the system on the way to becoming the first international champion. Eric Young and the Northern Armory then come in to say they've got Maclin's back, but he wants nothing to do with them. We then get a match where Ace Austin defeats Mustafa Ali via DQ when Ali decides that he's had enough and gets a chair and uses it. After the match, Ali loads up a chair shot again, but Santana comes out and makes the save. After a commercial break, Ali and company get into a car where Santana is actually behind the wheel, and everyone but John Schuyler gets out before Santana goes away. We then get Cody Deaner. He comes out to interrupt the system, who had kind of just been cutting a promo. They try to convince Deaner to join the system and become their lackey/janitor. And eventually Moose challenges him to a match and says, if you can last 2 minutes with me, our match can become an X Division title match. Deaner is eventually able to last the 2 minutes, but about 30 seconds later, Moose hits a spear and retains his X Division title. And then after the match, the beatdown is on, but the Rascals run in to make the save. We then get a match with the Rascals and JDC and Brian Myers of the system, where JDC and Myers defeat the Rascals when Miguel goes for a suplex on Myers from the apron, and JDC pulls his leg and holds it down as Myers gets the 3 count. We then get our first international title tournament match, 3-way, where AJ Francis defeats Sami Callihan and Mance Warner when he speared Callihan as Callihan was trying to gouge Mance's eye out. This advances Francis, like I said, to the finals of the international title tournament at Unbreakable. The other 2 first-round matches, I believe, will be on the Unbreakable show. We then get, and then after the commercial break, Callihan comes in to Santino and tells him he wants Barbed Wire Massacre with Mance Warner, and the match is set for Rebellion. We then get Leon Slater. He defeats Ryan Nemeth via pinfall following the Swanton 450. Mike Santana obviously had kidnapped John Schuyler earlier, set him in a chair, kind of tied him up, threatens him with violence while suggesting that Mustafa Ali will leave him for dead if Santana pretty much Santana can do whatever he wants to him, and Mustafa Ali is probably not going to come save him. Santana then teases hitting him with a shovel, but ends up pulling up short as he doesn't want to stoop to Mustafa Ali's level. We then get Eddie Edwards. He defeats Steve Maclin via pinfall following the Boston Knee Party. The system and Northern Armory had both come out and kind of distracted Maclin, which allowed Edwards to kind of get the win. And then we get our main event promo from Joe Hendry. He says that he has a bad rotator cuff injury, and says if you can't defend the title, you shouldn't be the champion. But he is defending the title at Rebellion. Frankie Kazarian comes out to say he will win the title because Hendry is stupid enough to care about what the fans think. He could beat Hendry right now, which is fine with Hendry, who invites him into the ring. And then he announces that they will be in a mixed tag match together at Unbreakable, where Kazarian will team with Tessa Blanchard and Hendry will team with Masha Slamovich. So both champions versus a couple of their challengers at Rebellion. So at Unbreakable, they'll have that mixed tag team match. So looking forward to seeing what they can do in that one. But Edwards and Macklin was the best match. A lot of build towards Rebellion and Unbreakable, which are, I believe, back-to-back weeks, if I remember correctly. So Unbreakable is obviously Mania week in Las Vegas, and then Rebellion is the week after. So two big shows coming up for them, but kind of a lot of build to that, and I would say Edwards and Macklin had the best match of the show. We will conclude with SmackDown. We open with a recap of Kevin Owens announcing his neck injury and Randy Orton hitting an RKO on Nick Aldis to blow off some steam. Aldis comes out to get things going, and the fans are cheering very heavily for Randy Orton as he comes out. Aldis is here to address what happened last week, and while he is going to maintain his professionalism, he invites Orton to the ring. Orton comes out to say that he paid his fine double last time, so Aldis knew that this could happen at some point. Right now, there's nothing for him at WrestleMania, and Orton doesn't care who he faces, but he needs to be on that show. Orton doesn't care if it is Aldis himself, but Aldis needs to calm down. Aldis doesn't need Orton to pay another fine because he needs his respect. So Aldis just wants respect. He doesn't care about the money. Orton says Aldis earned his respect a long time ago, but he can't promise he'll apologize to Mickie James if Aldis doesn't give him a match, which obviously pisses off Aldis because that's his wife. Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga then come out to interrupt, and Sikoa promises that Jacob Fatu is leaving WrestleMania with the United States Championship. Orton doesn't seem to like the interruption and issues a challenge, so the brawl is on. Orton is getting beaten down pretty badly until LA Knight comes out, makes a save, and then they issue a tag team match challenge for later on, and Aldis makes the match. We then get our women's gauntlet match to determine who faces Liv and Raquel at WrestleMania for the women's tag team titles, and Lyra and Bayley run the entire gauntlet. They start at the very beginning and run through every team, last at eliminating the Green Administration, which is Alba Fire and Piper Niven. The other teams in the match were Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, Katana Chance and Caden Carter, Natalya and Maxine Dupree, and Michin and B-Fab. So they started with Baszler and Stark and made it all the way to defeat Fire and Niven. Really awesome gauntlet match. Didn't have any expectations of this coming in, and I thought it really, really blew out of the water. And I felt like a lot of people talk about it in glowing terms and all that good stuff. So, and then after the match, Liv and Raquel get in the ring and kind of have a stare down with Lyra and Bayley. We then get told that Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton had gotten into a fight before the show in the parking lot. It isn't shown, but they kind of talk about how it's been floating around social media all day. So I believe they do show some of it later, but they don't really show it at this point and kind of just talk about it. We then get the announcement that Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre is set, and it is going to be a Sin City street fight for WrestleMania Sunday. Damian Priest is then out to the ring to seemingly cut a promo, but Drew McIntyre runs in and rams him headfirst into the apron monitor. Priest is then carried out, leaving McIntyre saying, "We are starting to see now McIntyre is the only one who tells the truth, and Priest is the only person who benefits from McIntyre getting screwed. Their street fight is a year in the making, and his eye is completely fine. He's 100% cleared, so Priest is 100% screwed." Priest then comes back to brawl, but McIntyre goes to the eyes and hits him in the face with the steps, and then he hits the future shock on the bottom part of the steps and leaves Priest laying. We then get DIY there in the back. They are still convinced that there is a conspiracy against them, and Pretty Deadly thinks they are nuts. The Motor City Machine Guns then come in as well and mock DIY, telling them that they have a tag team title match next week, not them. We then get Rey Fenix defeating Berto via pinfall, following the Mexican Muscle Buster. Santos is then afterwards to shake hands with Phoenix, but Phoenix doesn't seem too sure about the whole thing. We then get Roxanne Perez. She is here to talk to Aldis about how she doesn't like Tiffany Stratton, who comes in to yell at her. They both want a match, and Nick Aldis says that he'll think about it. We then get a video of Paul Heyman's history with CM Punk, including some OVW footage and their time working together and all the success that they had. They talk about how Punk left and came back with their relationship still being a thing, albeit kind of in the background as Heyman was the wise man to the bloodline. Punk then helped Heyman a bit, and Heyman will be in Punk's corner at WrestleMania, even with Roman Reigns in the same match. We then go to Chelsea Green. She is annoyed that Niven and Fire aren't ready to help her in her match with Zelina Vega, which is next. Zelina comes in to mock her, having to wrestle on her own. We get our weekly vignette of the smoke, just kind of floating around. I don't really think it had any symbolism this time, but it was just the weekly smoky vignette. We then get Zelina Vega. She actually defeats Chelsea Green, but it's via countout when Green had been beating her on the outside and gets distracted arguing with the commentary team and gets counted out. We then go back to the back, and Santos is disappointed in Berto for losing to Rey Fenix. Escobar and Angel then are off to congratulate Phoenix. They kind of talk about what's going on for the rest of the show, and then they cut back to Berto, and Andrade comes in to give him a pep talk, and then Berto tells him to mind his own business. We then get Naomi. She says she can't stand Jade Cargill, who she calls a snake for taking Naomi's spot. We then cut to Jade. Jade calls Naomi's time that her time has run out, and revenge is coming for her at WrestleMania. We then get Cody Rhodes. He comes out for a chat, and in the ring are like every WWE title that's kind of ever appeared on TV. It seems like just on like tables in the ring, kind of set up like a ceremony of some sort. Rhodes puts his title on a pedestal in the middle of all of them. And he soaks in some cheers, as he always does. He thanks the fans for always giving him a warm reception. These titles are the denotation of excellence, and Rhodes has been blessed to hold the title. WrestleMania is about the next 20 champions who might be in NXT or the ID program, or maybe someone here in Seattle tonight. But there is one man who wants to take all of that away, and that man is John Cena. Seattle is not part of Cena's retirement tour, obviously trying to get them to boo him pretty heavily. So Rhodes brings up Cena, saying Cody Rhodes is nothing but a common fan. Rhodes has his tattoo and wears a suit because he wants to be someone. He goes down the titles and talks about the various champions who have held them, including Cena with the spinner belt. Cena was someone who was trying to find himself, which is what he said about Cody Rhodes. The reality right now is that Rhodes is the WWE champion and Cena is not. Rhodes calls himself the captain around here, and he is part of a stacked roster. The reality is that Rhodes does his best work when his back is against the wall, and that is going to be the case at WrestleMania. It would be clever for Rhodes to say Cena's time is up, but that has been the case for a long time. The reality is Rhodes is the champion, and it is staying with him and the people. We then get the Street Profits. They are ready to retain their tag team titles against the Motor City Machine Guns next week. Dawkins even mentions the internet wrestling community as the Guns fans. But the Miz and Carmelo Hayes come in and interrupt, and they seem to want the titles for themselves. And they kind of have a stare down right there. We then get Tiffany Stratton. She defeats Roxanne Perez following the PME. Post-match, Charlotte comes in, and they continue to battle. Charlotte had apparently been sent home after the battle in the parking lot earlier, but they battle around the outside before they get separated. We then get the highlights from the Rollins and Heyman confrontation from Raw. We get a rundown of the nights of WrestleMania. So Saturday will be the main event of Reigns, Rollins, and Punk. Will also feature Jade versus Naomi, the War Raiders versus New Day for the Raw tag titles. Americano versus Mysterio will be that night. Knight versus Fatu for the U.S. title will be that night. Stratton versus Flair for the women's WWE title will be that night. And Uso, I almost said Guso and Gunther and Uso for the world title will also be that night. And then Sunday will be Cena versus Rhodes, the women's tag team title match. with Bailey and Lyra versus Liv and Raquel. McIntyre versus Priest in the Sin City Street Fight. The IC Fatal 4-Way with Mysterio, Balor, Breaker, and Penta. Paul versus AJ Styles, and then Belair versus Sky versus Ripley for the Women's World Title. And then we get our main event of SmackDown where LA Knight and Randy Orton defeat Sikoa and Tonga when Knight hits the BFT on Tonga. And then after the match, Jacob Fatu comes in, beats down Knight, and hits 3 triple jump moonsaults to end the show. So really, really wears him out and lays him out to end the show. Like I talked about earlier, that gauntlet match that they had was really, really awesome. I thought Lyra and Bailey worked it superbly well throughout. So that would be not only my match of the night for SmackDown, but my match of the week. So going into TV matches of the week, obviously, like I just said, that gauntlet match would be number 1 for me. The 8-man from Dynamite would be number 2 for me for the money. And then number 3, I went with the Dark State versus Evans, Trick, and Oba. I thought they really, really did, or they really, really surprised me. And I thought it was really, really well done. Berto and Phoenix would be number 4, and then Takeshita and Fletcher versus Ishii and Hobbs would be number 5 for me. And then as far as Dynasty match rankings, I would start with the international title 3-way with Bailey, Ricochet, and Omega. Follow that with Ospreay versus Knight. Fletcher versus Briscoe would be number 3. The trios title match would be number 4. And number 5 would be Garcia versus Cole for the TNT Championship. So maybe not one of AEW's best title matches, because I really thought Cole and Garcia could have brought a little more, and that was the 5th best match for me. So, yeah, I coming off of Revolution, it was always going to be worse. That match or that show was just incredible. It seems to be every year. So, it was going to be a little bit of a letdown ultimately, but a solid show nonetheless. And that international 3-way was really, really awesome. So, but a solid card nonetheless. But maybe a tad bit lower than the previous month. But that'll be another week. With how crowded and all that stuff WrestleMania week is, I'm probably going to save both WrestleMania shows for not next week's show, but the week after that, just based on timing and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to cover Saturday on one week and Sunday on the next week. So we'll have Stand and Deliver. I'll probably cover Stand and Deliver next week, just because that's a little earlier in the day and I can get notes and stuff like that done on that a little more quickly than that. So you may not hear anything about Mania next week from me, but the week after that I will cover both shows. So thank you for joining me as always, and we will see you next week.